Good Friday afternoon to you. 4 o'clock time for Sports4CLE. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. We're going to talk plenty of Browns a little bit later in the show. Brad Ward from BrownsWire.com, the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast, will join us, and we will talk about Browns. That's also where we begin. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk talked about the Texans being added to the civil claims against Deshaun Watson. Tony Busby, the lawyer for the plaintiffs, 24 of them, has indicated that he intends to add the Texans as defendants in addition to Deshaun Watson. Here's Mike Florio on the Houston Texans being added to that lawsuit, those lawsuits.
It just adds to this sense that it's an avalanche. It's out of control right now. The court of public opinion is teetering on the brink of a conclusive verdict of guilty of Deshaun Watson. And all this is happening while the league is trying to figure out what to do. But every day it's something else. And it doesn't surprise me it happened. It does surprise me it took this long. And now it changes the dynamics if and when the Texans are added to this, when they're added to this as a defendant. Because now the league is kind of pulled into this mess. So there's actual skin in the game for the NFL. For all of these other personal conduct policy issues that the league has dealt with, there hasn't been a component where someone is trying to raid the coffers of an NFL franchise. Now, on top of everything else that Deshaun Watson has brought to the NFL by way of distraction and bad press, now this whole thing is causing a real financial liability for one of its teams.
And that is a very good point by Mike Florio. He mentioned Tony Busby. And, you know, the court of public opinion, the one thing Tony Busby has done really well, and it's probably by design, is he's played to the court of public opinion. The HBO segment comes out. The next day you see the 23rd accuser. They go with the New York Times report. Then the 24th accuser comes out. Now, also after that, the Texans are added to it. Now, the question becomes, and keep in mind, Mike Florio has a law degree, is a lawyer. He talked about what he expects the Texans' defense to be if they are, in fact, named as defendants, which is likely.
The biggest defense for the Texans will be, the threshold defense will be, we don't have a duty of care. We don't have a duty. There's nothing we're supposed to do. We didn't do anything. These are his actions. If he's engaging in criminal misconduct, we're not responsible for his criminal misconduct. And see, I hadn't thought of it that way, but it really sets the stage to have another party at the table that is throwing stones at Deshaun Watson. Because the best argument for the Texans very well may be, we are not responsible for his criminal misconduct. And the argument from Busby will be, you knew enough to acquire a duty of care to these individuals to protect them from a predator. You knew enough that you should have asked the questions to ascertain whether or not this man potentially is a sexual predator who was utilizing hotel room you provided, NDA you gave to him to facilitate his effort to commit these crimes. That will be the argument by Busby, but the argument by the Texans actually makes it worse for Watson because the Texans have every reason to say we're not responsible for his crimes.
And it's important to note, nothing criminal has been brought against Deshaun Watson, and that's likely not to happen. We'll get you in here in a minute, G. Bush. All right, let's check one more thing out. This is Stephen A. Smith on what should happen with the Deshaun Watson suit.
Whether you're innocent like you claim or guilty like they claim, the bottom line is we don't know. But what we do know is that your situation has dramatically impugned the integrity of our league, and we cannot have you being a part of that. It's very, very simple. That's all you have to do if you're the National Football League. What the procrastination about is I don't understand it, I don't comprehend it, I don't get it. And again, with all of these cases, it looks incredibly bad for Deshaun Watson. His camp will tell you, read the reports. You'll understand it's nonsense. It's ridiculous. All of that stuff. The bottom line is when you have these amount of women coming at you this way, it just looks very, very, very bad. There's just no other way around it.
And with that, let's welcome in G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show as well as Barbershop, 8 to noon, Saturdays on 92.3. A lot to unpack there, G. Bush. Now, What I will say is it leads me to believe that the NFL and the Browns were both somewhat aware of the latest accusations. I don't think this is new information, or we wouldn't see the inactivity by the league in particular.
No. So there's a lot to unpack there, a whole lot. Let's start by saying I don't think there's anything new that the NFL did not know. And that is, that's apparent by the lack of communication. They didn't say, well, we're going to evaluate these new litigations. We're going to evaluate the 23rd and 24th person coming forward. Well, the HBO special, we didn't know about that. We didn't know they were going to speak publicly, so we'll have to talk about that. They've said none of that. And obviously, when the New York Times is studying or going to do an extensive investigation like they did, naming some different things maybe the public might not know of, well, the NFL has had all of that material. They've known that from the jump street. The point of what is happening at this point is everybody, it becomes like the next episode of Jerry Springer, right? It just more and more stuff, the salaciousness coming out. Now it's more 23, 24. Then we heard he has 66 people, different people massage him. Then, there's so much different stuff coming out that people are now going to the ticket of, well, it just looks bad. Well, I mean, in the world, life isn't always what it looks. You can't just say it looks bad, so let's just clean it up. Do you want to get to the bottom of it? Do you want to get to the bottom of the civil suits? What do you want to do? How do you want to handle this? So I know a way of going about that, and that's actually going to civil cases. Because at this point, he's doing, the attorney is doing what he's supposed to do. This is out of the game plan. What do you want? He's going to name the deep pockets, and he's smart for doing it. Deshaun Watson has $230 million, but if I want a class action lawsuit, I'm going to bring it against Deshaun Watson. I'm going to bring it against the Houston Texans, and the next person is up is the NFL. Because here, if I can't get $100,000 per person, I really want probably like $1 million per plaintiff. That sounds better. His job is to get the maximum amount of money for his plaintiffs. That is what his job is to do. Any savvy lawyer would do the same thing in involving the Houston Texans, especially the new information that came out with the New York Times. And think about it like this. I don't think that the Houston Texans were even involved in it at the beginning, and as far as Busby is concerned. You know why? Because he didn't really add them into this investigation until the New York Times article said that Houston, as well as Deshaun Watson, are culpable for the NDAs and booking the sessions. So he just jumped on. He said, "Oh, thank you very much. I'll go take that information and I'll run with it too."
Yeah, and I'm of the belief that the NFL and maybe even the Browns, I don't think that's necessarily new. Now, Mary Kay Cabot, frequent guest on my show, on your show, is here at cleveland.com, has written an article. Browns are still all in on Deshaun Watson, not looking to void any part of that $230 million contract or the trade with the Texans, according to league sources. Mary Kay goes on to say, nothing that's taken place has the Browns pondering trying to void the blockbuster trade with the Texans, which includes that the 3 first-rounders and all that. And even though that the Texans are going to be soon added as defendants for allegedly enabling it. She goes on to say, this is via a text from Harden, the defense attorney for Deshaun Watson. Browns and all of us know that Deshaun are still totally behind him. These latest claims by Busby change nothing. They are totally false and will ultimately be what everyone concludes to hear when the evidence is heard. And again, G. Bush, that's one of the things that leads me to believe nothing. Everybody's beating up the Browns for saying they didn't do their due diligence, they didn't do this, they didn't do this. This response tells me they were at least aware this could occur.
Let me tell you something about this too. The new thing, and the new thing is to beat the Browns up. Let's just be clear about it. If the Browns do something with Baker Mayfield, they mishandled it. If they go after Deshaun Watson, who was a top 5 quarterback, Well, they didn't do their due diligence. They had a knee-jerk reaction. They should have went in the other direction. But when we were drafting quarterbacks in the first round and striking out with Johnny Manziel and striking out with Brandon Wheaton, we had a problem too. When they gave Josh Gordon extra chances, we should have got rid of him. And then he goes to New England, and all of a sudden it's a great opportunity for him to start his career. When Deshaun Watson was mentioned for the Saints, for the Falcons, for these other teams, it was the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. The Cleveland Browns swooped in and they said, what happened? How did they get him? Oh, they gave him $230 million. The reality of it is this. The Browns don't regret it. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get a quarterback in his prime that is still under the age of 27, 28 years old, and you had an opportunity to have him reach the market. People are mad about everything, the money, him going there, why they sign him. The reality of the situation is this. We killed Jimmy and D. Haslam for everything. Half the population didn't like Kareem Hunt. Oh, we can't sign Kareem Hunt. Half the population didn't want to give guys extra contracts. The reality is we talk about them for not wanting to win, not doing the right things to win. I'm not going to sit here on my high horse and talk about how they go about looking for a potential or an avenue to make the team better. Everybody is tasked with that. At the end of the day, they understand that. The national media gets and understands that. They're playing dumb at this point because he's not in Miami or New Orleans or somewhere else that's nice and cushy. The Cleveland Browns actually have him. So they're like, oh, well, we got to find something to talk about. And at the end of the day, nobody regrets getting a top 5 quarterback if he sits out 8 games, even if he sits out a year. Guess what? He'll sit out his year, he'll come back, he'll be 27 years old, and he'll play football.
Yeah. And again, the Browns knew they were going to get a PR, a backlash, and they're getting a PR backlash. It's not. None of this has been a surprise. All right, we're going to head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Had a lot of them about Deshaun Watson. This gives you a sample of what people are calling in about.
Yeah, this is about Deshaun Watson. The whole 22 cases thing, 24 cases. I don't think, because of lack of evidence, I don't think he's going to get suspended that much, that like people think he is. Everybody's saying a year, everybody's saying 2 years. I don't think he's going to get suspended like everybody thinks because of the lack of evidence. I think he might get 6 or 7 games, 6 or 8 games, and he might appeal it. What are your thoughts? Go Browns.
As always, appreciate it. G. Bush, the evidence is kind of irrespective of the amount of the suspension. Again, the problem is going to be the NFL has to protect its reputation, and it comes into sponsors and all kinds of things like that. So civil litigation, criminal stuff is irrespective of that code of conduct that they're going to use as the basis for the suspension. And it might be longer than 6 or 8 games just because the NFL feels it has to do that.
And I will say the NFL only feels it has to do that when it comes to players. Daniel Snyder has no suspensions. Jerry Jones has no suspensions. Robert Kraft has no suspensions. They are 3 of the most popular owners in the game. They've received no compensation. There've been no draft picks taken. There's no fines levied. As a matter of fact, these are well documented. I just did a video the other day documenting the cases. So the code of conduct, to be clear, and there's always a double standard. I just always like to lead with that. Yes, there's a code of conduct, but that is only for the players. The owners and the people who are in administration, they don't live by those rules. When you're a billionaire, you can skate on certain things. It is what it is. But I like to start with that. When you talk about Deshaun Watson and his penalty, one of the things that you may, and I said, people talk about this is horrible for Deshaun Watson because the Texans are added to it. I come out on another different area in the way I look at things. Well, go ahead. The Houston Texans, you part of the investigation now. I want to see if y'all got the same energy level. Now, Deshaun Watson, everybody wanted to give him a year. And we gave him the year based on allegations, right? Because people said he did something. Well, now those same allegations are now tied to an NFL organization. We're going to see if the NFL is really about the optics, or are they really about finding out what happened and doing the right thing? Because if Deshaun Watson is named in a lawsuit for 22 women. I believe the Houston Texans are named in lawsuits for 22 women. Are you going to suspend the general manager for the Texans? Does he get a year without pay? What about the owner? They take some draft picks or something? I'm trying to figure that out too. Because at the end of the day, if one person's in the lawsuit, the other person's in the lawsuit. So the league has a catch-22 here. I can go hard on Deshaun Watson. I can really throw the hammer down and give him a year if they want to. But the problem is this. Deshaun Watson then goes, and the NFL Players Association files a grievance saying, well, if the Houston Texans are named, why they have no penalties levied, any of that? You just believe the women when it came to Deshaun, but not the Texans. So my thing, and this is the first time I said this on an Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. At this point, it's not only bad for the Texans, it's bad for the NFL. What they need to do is get to a table, Deshaun Watson, the NFL, Roger Goodell, and the Texans and the Browns, and say, look, right now, Deshaun, we advocate that you're going to go ahead, pay these lawsuits, and this is the amount of games that you're going to get. We'll negotiate it. How's about, say, 4 to 6? We can appeal it. We'll drop you down to 4. All this goes away, and we can get back to the business of playing football, because at the end of the day, that's what we're in the business to do. But if you want to keep going through this litigation, pretty soon it's going to be the Texans. Next it will be the NFL. And so Deshaun Watson can negotiate with how many games he's going to sit out. It is what it is. But the NFL and Deshaun Watson, the Browns and the Texans better get in the room and figure it out, because the longer you wait on it, you give somebody else the opportunity to keep building cases and momentum. And pretty soon you got a class action lawsuit against everybody who's ever been to a masseuse or had a massage in the NFL. We might want to figure this out.
Yeah, they need to get it figured out sooner rather than later, because it's not going to go away until they figure it out and get it settled. G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out to the other side of the break. We'll talk a little bit about the Browns' defense. Sports4CLE be back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. G. Bush and I continue talking Browns. We're going to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Yeah, from Youngstown. Little thought here. I'm a little older than you guys, and I used to watch a show on HBO back in the day, and it was about the football team and how the team provided women to these football players to keep them happy in order to stay on the team. Kind of sounds like what Houston did with the Texans, and mainly with Deshaun Watson, as far as we may know. Like Miles said it, we weren't there. We don't know. We don't know what happened because none of us were there. But anyway, long story short, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that we don't know what happened. My advice to Rusty Harden and Deshaun Watson, keep your mouth shut. But all of this is on Roger Goodell. Your thoughts?
And as always, we appreciate all of the voicemails. G. Bush, I'll say I'm older than I look, and we'll leave it we'll leave it at that. Yeah, I don't know about the whole providing girls to the players thing. I will agree with the caller, and I think Rusty Harden has backed off after trying to get ahead of the last comment. Busby's played the PR game really well. Every news cycle he adds something to it. And that's why you're seeing all the national people coming down so hard on the Browns and that. And we don't know. That's the bottom line. Nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go as far as to saying. I mean, I think if you provide women to players, I would think that would be prostitution. I'm not gonna take that a step further. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, when you're a professional athlete, and we've seen it before, when you're a famous person, when you're anybody, an owner, and you got millions and millions and millions of dollars, and people understand who you are and what you do. You always are going to have some level of target, right? And you don't know what it is that people want from you or what want out of you. Not saying that, you know, people are just running around trying to, you know, extort Deshaun Watson for money. I just think if he goes in later on down the line, when he has time to retire and his career is over and he sits back and looks at the situation, I think he's going to just say, you know what? You know, I wish I would have made better decisions, right? I wish I would have made better decisions with, you know, who, and I talk about this all the time. You know, when you're having sexual relations with people, that's not just random. Like that, you give people power over you, right? That is something that you just don't take lightly, you know. And when you do that, people have the ability to say you did this or was it consensual or wasn't consensual. If he has to all do it over, I guarantee that he looks at it and say, man, I wish I'd have just chilled out. I wish I would have not did that, or I wish I could have took it back and really rethought what I was thinking about. And I think even some of the women would say, hey, I wish I wouldn't have re-upped or reached out to him, or whatever the case was happening with the massages. It's all kind of things where people look back and make mistakes. I will say this, that in the end, everyone has to take responsibility for their part in the issue, right? For any part of it, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know, was I at my best during that? Should I redid it over? And I think, you know, this is a big enough mistake that he's made to a point where, you know, he's going to, you know, one mistake can ruin your life. I tell young kids all the time, I speak to kids all the time, it only take once. You know, people think you automatically get a second chance at life. There's people that's in the penitentiary right now who did something one time when they was 12 or 13, and it's gone. It is what it is. You now got to live with those consequences. So, you know, it's a cautionary tale to both sides of people, just to make sure you're doing the right things, put yourself in a position where you don't got to worry about that, and just sleep well at night, because you know, hey, I'm sticking to myself. I don't really do much, and I'm just doing my thing, man.
Yep, I agree with you. You know, there's a lot of things that we all do when we're younger that you hope don't come back to bite you, without question. All right, 6 players on new contracts who will not live up to those contracts. This is according to the Bleacher Report. They got a couple of Browns. So they say David Njoku. Hooper may be out of the picture after signing with the Tennessee Titans, but Harrison Bryant could eat into some Njoku's work after scoring 6 touchdowns in his first 2 seasons. The other one they say is Denzel Ward. So the Ohio State product gave up a career-worst 60.3 completion percentage last year, allowed 4 touchdowns for the second consecutive year. While there was still a chance that Ward develops into a all-pro talent, Browns may have made a risky bet on his upside rather than what he has provided on the field. G. Bush, I disagree on both of them. I think Njoku could end up being an elite tight end, and I thought Denzel Ward played pretty well last year. I'm not sure. I mean, you can manipulate numbers any way you want. When I watched Denzel Ward, I had no problem with the way he played last year. Give me that every year.
You know what we suffering from? We suffering from that national media backlash. Remember, remember we got Odell Beckham Jr., right? We got him, and Browns was lit. They had Baker, OBJ. We about to be great. Freddie Kitchens. Then we were terrible. Then we go 2020, right? We get to 2020. He surprised a lot of people. Win the playoff game. Baker looked like he figured it out. They got Stefanski, the coach of the year. And then we come back 2021 and we lay an egg. Baker ain't even on the team no more. Odell Beckham Jr. is up out of here. Jarvis Landry's gone. We had one of the, just a turmoil of just all kind of offseason stuff that just has plagued the team. So right now, this is called a reset. So the national media is making a reset. They started to reset by putting all the Cleveland Browns games at 1 o'clock. like that was doing us a disservice. Like, I don't care. I like 1 o'clock games. I can get in. Hey, I can get into bed early. I can do my post game stuff. I'm cool. I do a bunch of 1 o'clock games. I like it. And if the Browns win, I can look at my fantasy team through the rest of the day and judge other people like you guys aren't that good. The Browns won today. You guys are trash, right? So then, that's what they're doing at this point. And the second thing is to diminish all of the Browns, the guys that they got. Think about it. Jadeveon Clowney was on the market. He came back to sign with the Browns. I don't know about the move. I thought why would he turn down $2 million, $24 million for another team? There's like, well, the reports are he wanted to play for the Browns. So he got an opportunity for a Super Bowl. I don't believe that. Nope, G. Bush, I don't believe it. If he had $24 million, he would have took the 24. Then you get reports that people that is good, that's always perennially good, ain't no good more. There's a report come out of the Odyssey. They talk about, we like Najee Harris over Nick Chubb. Really? Really? That's what the hot take of the year. Now all of a sudden, well, you already know T.J. Watt's production is better than Myles Garrett, and now Denzel Ward is trash, and he couldn't get no payday, and David Njoku is garbage. I'm like, all right, y'all can have that. Y'all can have that. I get it. It's the Deshaun Watson, the Baker thing. You're tired of talking about us. OBJ, I get it. Y'all can have the preseason. At some point in time, you're going to figure out that Nick Chubb is really good and Myles Garrett is a freak and Denzel Ward. He did pick Joe Burrow off and take it 99 yards to the crib in Cincinnati. I do remember that. But you guys can have it for now. We'll let you get your money off while you're kicking us while we're down. We'll wait it out.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. Other side of the break, turn our attention to players that are going to be ready to shine in the upcoming season. Sports for CLE will be right back. Stay with it. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
G. Bush from the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, as well as the Barbershop on 92.3 The Fan from 8 to noon on Saturdays. And I continue talking Browns. 3 second-year players that are ready to shine this year in 2022. So number one, Greg Newsome, cornerback for the Browns. You see the delineation there. Also, defensive side of the ball, number 2, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker. And number 3, wide receiver, Anthony Schwartz. G. Bush, I like all of those guys. I keep saying with Greg Newsome, best thing about him, they didn't throw at him. When you're not throwing at a rookie cornerback, that means he's playing pretty darn well. JOK, the more I see, I want to see more.
Yeah, so Newsome, he was on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show earlier. First of all, shout out to him, man. He got a crazy shoe game. I thought my shoe game was all right. And, well, you know, he makes a substantial amount more money than I do. So he won that. He won that hands down. I think he has a room full of shoes. So shout out to Mr. Newsome. But I'll tell you what I like most about him and his skills is he's always there. Like, I like a guy that's in phase. I like a guy when I'm watching him on tape. I like a guy that is contesting throws. I don't want to see no cornerbacks behind and just looking to make the tackle, right? And, you know, sometimes cornerbacks get beat, and the first thing that they want to do is just make sure that they can make the tackle. Now, that's important because there might not be somebody behind them. But you know the difference between just guys And guys that have the ability to be all pros, to be playmakers, are the guys that are playing the football, that are always contested at the top of the throw, that are always looking to swipe the ball down, hit hands, wrists, whatever they can do to affect the pass. So to me, even when he got beat last year, it's two different types of beat. It's the one beat where you be like, oh man, if he catch this, it's a 6. You know it at home, and they know it in the stadium. They be like, oh, he about 6.5 yards away from this dude. It's a problem. And then it's the one you get beat, but you up there. You batting it down. You're in the mix. You in the vicinity. I can deal with being in the vicinity because that means you didn't give up on the play, and that means you're a playmaker. I love what he can bring in terms of that. And I think this year moving to the slot, it's going to only strengthen the Cleveland Browns rotation because I think he played outside a lot last year. Inside this year is going to be a different little scenario, but I'm liking that. And I'm looking at it, to me, if the Browns offense want to be dynamic, I already know I got JOK penciled down as a playmaker. You know, there's sometimes when you're a young guy, and I've been on both ends of the spectrum. I've been an old dude that been phased out. But I've been a new dude that phased some other people out a couple years before. They say, oh, he's a new breed, right? JOK, to me, you tell him, hey, young pup, you're gonna need to be a playmaker for us. I need you. You are along the lines of a Myles Garrett. You are along the lines of a Clowney. I need you to be around the field, around the football, and I need you to be a 3-down player. I think he can do it. I think he's going to change the way people start drafting linebackers. Trust me. You're going to see a lot of safeties, a lot of hybrid guys model their game after what the Browns do with JOK because everybody's looking for that 3-down player. Nowadays, because they putting all their guys in the slot. They're putting the Anthony Schwartzes and the Tyreek Hills and the fast guys, and those guys are in the slot now. So now that's a mismatch. You can't have a guy running down the middle of the field like that. If you're running zone, how does your linebackers get depth? You got to have a linebacker that can get depth at 20 feet, 20 yards down the seam in order to stop some of that. So I think he's the new wave. And Schwartz, to me, I look at the way Kansas City runs their offense. Kevin Stefanski, if you're listening, Anthony Schwartz, if you go back to his Auburn tape, yeah, I know you guys want to work him in progression. That's what you got David Bell for, right? You want to work him in. I don't think Schwartz is a guy you still going to be comfortable with on 3rd and 3, throwing a 5 to 7 yard slant pass and making sure he catches it. I don't believe in that yet. I'm sorry. I would love to believe in that. But the 3 to 5 yard slant on 3rd down to Schwartz is not a good play. At this point, what I want to see him doing is he needs to be running the track meet, east and west, jet sweeps this way, jet sweeps that way, bubble screen, tunnel screen, wide receiver screen, move him in the backfield, shift him out, make him run a route on the linebacker. Those are the ways you can get him some touches, and if you can make him be a slot back or something of that matter and give yourself a chance that if you miss a tackle, he's gone, that's what you want, and I think he'll be great in that position. I think he'll take a step forward.
Yeah, and, along those lines, one of the reasons Browns don't want to sign a veteran like Will Fuller just yet, they want to see what Anthony Schwartz and some of the younger guys can do. Chad O'Shea talked about Anthony Schwartz and what the Browns have seen from him through these OTAs.
Anthony's come back. He's come back in great condition, and he's working really hard and making a lot of improvements. We have a list of things for all of our players that we prioritize that they need to improve on. And I think he's really done a good job with some of the areas that we've targeted. And he's made progress, and he's making progress because he's working really hard, and he's been out there on the field and been very consistent for us right now as a worker.
The idea of strong hands, can you make strong hands?
I think that you can develop ball skills with extra work, whether it's hand strength or it's hand-eye coordination or it's just the ability to track a ball maybe in a contested area. I think there's different factors and elements that go into actually catching a football, I think all of which you can improve. And certainly he's improved in several of those areas, and those were some priority areas for him.
And again, G. Bush, they're going to give these guys the opportunity to show they belong and they've earned some playing time.
Yeah, I like when you get down into the nuts and bolts and talking to the game. I like what he said right there. Some people are natural catchers of the football. When you see a natural receiver, you just know it, right? They can, it's just there. They just catch the ball. We got a guy, Amari Cooper, crisp route runner. He effortlessly catches the football. He's a guy that pulls it down easily. You think about it like this, and I know this is very high praise, but Randy Moss used to gallop down the field like a deer, and he used to just catch the ball. And Chris Carter's another like the ball it just seems like they can get it wherever. If it's low, it's high. They always make it look like it was a good throw. Some people like Schwartz, who are really fast guys, they go 100 miles an hour all the time. And at receiver, that's not necessarily what you want. Even at running back, you need a little bit of patience to set a guy up. Sometimes you need to work on your release. Sometimes you can't get off the line of scrimmage. If you can't get off the line of scrimmage, how you gonna get into your route? Then it's a timing route. So footwork counts. Your releases. Do you have a good inside release? Do you have a couple? So it's like dancing out there. If you go watch Devontae Adams and watch his feet, he looks like he's out there doing a salsa dance on these defensive backs. He got the inside moves. He got the outside moves. He's rocking and rolling. He's doing his thing. Anthony Schwartz, that's something you develop. Some people already have that natural rhythm. One thing that you can't teach is speed. Tyreek Hill ain't the best receiver in getting off the line of scrimmage, but when he gets off the line of scrimmage, it's lights out. It's lights out. Patrick Mahomes just leans back and throws it 90 yards. Throw as far as you can, and he'll run under it. And those are the type of the things that you can't teach. And if they can get him some of those other ball skills, get him working on route progression, understanding ways to beat defensive backs, I think then you can start to unlock some of that speed. Right now, it doesn't seem like he plays as fast as he should, as he totally is, because he's still thinking, still trying to find out his steps and try to understand how to be a professional receiver. So I think those are the things that will unlock some of that speed that the Browns fans are waiting to see.
G. Bush and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, we'll talk a little bit about Baker Mayfield and potential trade destinations. Sports for CLE, be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with G. Bush. You can see him on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube. You can also listen to him 92.3 The Fan from 8 until noon on Saturdays. All right, so Baker Mayfield, still part of the Browns, has been excused from mandatory minicamp. ESPN's Dan Graziano polled a number of executives. Most popular landing spot for Mayfield in the straw poll was the Seahawks. They don't seem interested in trading for him, but could, if he gets released, sign him to a low-end cost deal, add him to the quarterback room that includes Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Yikes, that's a scary room. Most likely outcome for both is that they get released. And that's Baker and Jimmy Garoppolo. And then a crazy thing at the end of that was trade them for each other. Browns get a better backup potentially if Watson gets the suspension that's longer than expected, and the 49ers would save a little bit of money. It's just a year and a year. It's about $9 million more for Garoppolo. All right, G. Bush, Graziano, most likely outcome says is going to be released. I don't see the Browns doing that. Says most likely landing spot is the Seahawks. That I could see if they get a look at what Drew Lock and Geno Smith look like and go, whew, that's not great.
Man, I've changed. You know what? I was thinking about this, right? And this hit me. And I don't know, man. Sometimes, I just go off the emotion of it, man. And sometimes people be feeling like, you don't watch football and you just into like hating on people or you're a Baker hater or whatever. And I'm like, that's totally not the case. If you're a football fan and you watch the game and understand the game, you understand that there's certain landing spots that Baker Mayfield can be successful. And Baker Mayfield is one of the players that I really believe play off emotion. If you look at the quarterbacks traditionally, I think he has the emotional, they play well when they're under fire. They got the bullets running. Jim Harbaugh comes to mind. Jim McMahon is a dude that I think played that way. And I think Baker has more talent than both of those. So there's nothing more interesting to me than to see him play for Seattle. You know why? It just fits, man. The crowd is there. It's a frenzied crowd. They got a home field advantage, right? Baker fits right into that mentality, right? The mentality of, are we hard-nosed up here? We kind of, Pete Carroll kind of does the same thing. He rubs some people the wrong way. But I can see Baker Mayfield up in them highlighter uniforms, right? Throwing the ball up to DK Metcalf. Come on, man. You got to think about it. Baker come out, throw for 250. DK Metcalf catch a long touchdown pass. They run the ball well. And the crowd, he up here hyping the crowd up. He got his eye black on with his shield, and he's amping them up. Man, he can that's a spot. That's a spot. I'm telling you, if he get up there, he's a dude that can get 9 wins in Seattle. Because that's the way he going to play. That's just, he fits the way the city is, and they would love him from day one. If you plan on coming out here with Geno Smith and Drew Lock, that means to tell me you ain't trying to win. They ain't winning nothing. They're not. You're not trying to win no games if you come out there with them. I still think that's a good spot for him, and I think he could be fairly successful.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. Along those lines, so Jonathan Jones, CBSSports.com, has an idea that Baker could drop his base salary down to the low teens, have the Browns pay the majority of it, and then the Panthers would pick up the remaining $4 to $6 million, sending a day 3 pick to Cleveland. Accomplish 3 things: gets Mayfield out of Cleveland, gives the Browns some money back, gets the Panthers a starting quarterback. I don't see Baker Mayfield lowering his dollar figure. I certainly wouldn't. I would not do that.
He's at this point, it'll be dumb, right? Go back and look at Isaiah Thomas, right? Isaiah Thomas, not the one from the Pistons, the Isaiah Thomas that came here in the Kyrie Irving trade. Think about it. The year before prior, he goes, and Isaiah Thomas is averaging 31 points a game. He's in the playoff series against the Cavs. He hurts his hip. He then, doesn't know his hip had been hurting the whole time. And then all of a sudden, look where his career spiraled from that. He ends up never getting that big max deal, never saw big money. And then now you're bouncing around the league just trying to stick at different places. At the end of the day, that $18 million for him, that's his pension. Baker Mayfield is not guaranteed to start any more games in the league, right? We all think he has the ability to have the skill set to do it, but he's not guaranteed that, especially the way it ended here in Cleveland, and especially the lack of interest so far right now. So he only has 1 year in his contract left. Push comes to shove, I understand people saying you want an opportunity to prove yourself, but at the end of the day, man, you want an opportunity to make sure that your family don't have to work no more. Don't get it twisted. I think Baker Mayfield will be wildly successful and entertaining if he goes into broadcasting and he can ride his ticket. I think he'd be great there. But none of that's guaranteed, man. You ain't turning down $18 million. People get mad if you don't get your little office bonus at the end of December. What? You know how many widgets I sold, Jim? I sold 65 widgets. I'm supposed to get that bonus money, man. People ain't turning down no money, bro.
No. Nope. That's the advice you give somebody else. You would never take that advice if that was you. If that's I'm not turning down any money, nor should anybody who has it guaranteed. G. Bush, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Make sure you watch him, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday. You can listen to him, 92.3 The Fan, The Barbershop, 8 to noon. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, have a good one. G. Bush, as always. Listen to him tomorrow morning, 8 to noon on the Barbershop, 92.3 The Fan. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Brad Ward from BrownsWire.com will talk about some young guys who are set up for success in 2022.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams, I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
We continue talking Browns. Let's welcome in Brad Ward from BrownsWire.com, as well as the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. Brad, let's talk some young guys that the Browns really need to step up and take a step forward in 2022 if it's going to be a successful season. I know you have three guys that you had in mind. Take us through it. DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Grant Delpit, Nick Harris. Take us through what you're thinking with them.
Yeah, I'm working on a piece on this, and I got to talking to Jared Mueller about this last night. Donovan Peoples-Jones, number one for me. They talked about how they want to overhaul the pass game, and for me, if it's going to be what it could be, right, it has to be partially because Donovan Peoples-Jones becomes what we all think he can be. We saw it in camp last year. It didn't really translate onto the field, partially because of maybe him, partially because of the quarterback position. Either way, for them to really be who they could be or reach their ceiling, no matter who's quarterback, right? They need him to be that big, athletic number 2 wide receiver. He can't underwhelm again, right? Like, he has to live up to that role. I think he will, but I think that's a guy that has to take a big step forward this year as far as the Browns go. And I think it's imperative to their success in the pass game.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I think he kind of got force-fed into maybe even a number 1 receiver role because of everything that happened. And I don't think he was quite ready for that, but I think, a number 2, I can see that. Grant Delpit, safety, was another one.
Yeah, he lost a year, right? So he lost a year. So that makes this so critical. And especially if you look at the way the Browns defense played last year. So John Johnson had to play free safety early in the year. Kind of took him out of what he's best at, right? He's best at being creative, playing up around the line of scrimmage, kind of freestyling a little bit. And when Delpit got healthy and started playing better in that free safety role, John Johnson played better, and the whole defense got better. At the end of the year, Delpit was really playing well, and the defense was hitting on all cylinders. If he can come out and fill that free safety role, and he has to perform because his timeline is cut short, right? So they have to look at him extension-wise. We're talking about a number 2 draft pick, like a second-round draft pick here, a guy that was potentially a first-round talent, we thought, lost a whole year. So his timeline is crunched, right? He has to perform this year for the Browns to start looking at him as a long-term extension solution. and for this defense to play as good as they were at the end of last year, frees up John Johnson. I just think it's really critical that he makes that or continues that step forward that we saw at the end of last year.
Yeah, and I would agree. And keep in mind, you mentioned he's a second-round pick, so you don't have that fifth-year option. That's only for first years. So that's important to note as well. And the third guy, Nick Harris. And the more I think about Nick Harris, the more comfortable I am with him, just based on, he practiced with the ones all the time. When given the opportunity to play his position center, he looked pretty good against the Packers, against a really good team.
He did. I like him a lot. He's been there all offseason, right? I think they said he's put on like 15 pounds of muscle. He's really been working hard at it. And how different will it be for the Browns to have a center that actually practices every day with the ones that's going to play on Sunday, right? I mean, Treader never practiced for like the last 3 years or 2 years or whatever. So, and it's nice, to be honest, selfishly, I'm glad to get the NFLPA president out of here. I mean, that was kind of a pain in the rear end, you know what I mean? So to have him here, because everybody kind of had to back all of his causes and all that stuff. And here we are with their first full offseason program, So I think that Nick Harris will be good, but he has to step into that role for this offensive line to be what they are. And center's so huge, right? I do have a lot of confidence that he will step into that role, like you said, though. I think that the Browns do too.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons. I mean, they did hedge their bets with Posick, the backup, but that's fine. All right, another topic. So the Browns are kind of toying with the idea that they played Greg Newsome in the slot. What do you think of that? Meaning not from the outside, more inside.
Yeah, so they kind of put themselves in this position with the Troy Hill transaction. I know he didn't play up to the level that he did when he was with the Rams, and I think that's kind of what led to him going out the door. But they have a bunch of outside corners on this roster, Dave. They don't really have anybody that's just a nickel or a slot, right? So they've had to kind of, it sounds like in OTAs and everything, move Newsome into the slot, and he's embraced the role. He says he likes it. He says it's fun. I have no issue. I think he would do fine in there. My problem is when you look at the value of the position, right? Like an outside corner in the NFL gets paid like $20 million a year. You spent a first-round draft pick on Newsome. He looked great last year. He looks like an up-and-coming stud outside corner, right? I understand that weapons are going to move around and everything. So him playing in the slot, I think, would be okay as a process. I think the outcome would be okay, but it just seems really reactive instead of proactive to put him in there. It's like they didn't see this coming. So now you have to put a first-round pick in there. And, value-wise, when you go out and pay for the best slot corner on the market, he's like $5-6 million. So now we've taken our first-round draft pick, who had the promise of being a really good outside corner, and we're going to play him in the nickel. It just kind of seems backwards to me. It feels like a role that, when they go into nickel, which is going to be like 75% of the time now in the NFL, right? Like he's going to slide from the outside to the inside instead of running a strictly nickel back onto the field, which seems backwards as well. You're asking a lot from him. I think he'll do fine there. It just seems kind of backwards to me. It seems really reactive, and I don't think they looked further enough down the road. Once again, I go back to this point I've made with you before, Dave. Finish this roster. Like, you've gone through all of this stuff. You paid the $230 million. We're taking this beating as a fan base and a city and everything. Make sure you finish the roster, and I think that includes getting a strictly nickel cornerback.
OTAs, mandatory minicamp is next week. So 3 early standouts from OTAs. This is according to Dog Pound Daily. They have number 1, Jacob Phillips, linebacker, who missed a significant portion of last year, was beat up as a rookie as well. Number 2, Cade York, kicker, who people were raving about last week when he kicked in front of the group finally. And number 3, the aforementioned Greg Newsome. So let's talk a little bit about Phillips and York. We've already talked about Greg Newsome, but how important do you think Jacob Phillips can be if he lives up to that third? I think it was a third-round pick a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think it could be really important. I mean, you think about today's NFL. The Sione Takis of the world are kind of going by the wayside. Like, he's great, right, for the Browns, but Jacob Phillips and his speed is what they want, right? So if he could step up and fill that middle linebacker role or, not even middle linebacker, whatever they want to do when there are two linebackers on the field and JOK, right? Like, think about the speed that they can put out there with him and JOK on the field at the same time. And I think that's the idea and kind of what Joe Woods wants, right? He wants to be speed everywhere, versatility everywhere. And Phillips can bring that to the table. I mean, he's a fast guy. And when he's flashed, definitely. So I think if he can step up and they say he's looking really good, I think that bodes really well for the defense.
Cade York, by all accounts, booming some 60-type yard field goals. Pretty accurate, doing it in front of, the media assembled, so a crowd, all good stuff.
All good stuff. I was an advocate for taking York, for taking a kicker. So I'm glad to see him there. It's a very, very important part of the team, especially a team that's going to compete, hopefully, like the Browns do. I think they lost a couple games last year because of that position. So having him, I think, will make a difference. And he seems to have the moxie and he seems to have the legs. So I think that it's all good. It's interesting about those fourth-round picks. None of those guys are signed yet because the Texans are messing everything up, everybody. Went out and signed their fourth-round picks to, I think, a little bit extra money, both of them, I think. And now, that's the only, all the agents of all the fourth-round picks around the NFL, none of them are signed. 23% of fourth-round picks are signed because they're all asking for more money now. So I think that's why the Browns, the only two guys they don't have signed are their fourth-round picks. It's interesting.
Brad Ward and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. Other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. Stay with us on Sports4CLE. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
The Greater Cleveland Sports Hall of Fame celebrates the star athletes and notable sports figures who were born or have made their home in Greater Cleveland. It tells the story of discipline, commitment, perseverance, sportsmanship, and excellence in achievement. It encourages and inspires those who believe in sport and its direct impact on the well-being of our community. Go to clevelandsportshall.com or follow us on Twitter at GCLE Sports HOF for more details.
Let's get right back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Mark from North Olmsted. I really enjoy the format now, adding the input and energy from callers to the excellent roster of sports media guests to comment on. I wish the Browns news wasn't understandably dominated by the Watson story, and we could return to sports in the CLE being one of a welcome distraction from everyday problems we all have. I have avoided calling due to this painful ongoing soap opera. However, I have something I'd like to be commented on. If indeed it's true that the Texans assisted in Watson's behavior and withheld that from the Browns, and this could be proven, could that then be used by the Browns and the NFL to avoid not only the salary and the new contract, but the actual trade itself? Obviously, we're not contract law specialists here. The buyer beware idea and investigation by the Browns wouldn't seem to be enough to protect the Texans if they indeed withheld being involved in the alleged behavior. This would seem to be a pure deception on their part, and that it might not be overreach by a fan grasping at straws, but an actual strategy that Browns might pursue. Your thoughts, please? Thank you.
As always, we appreciate all of the voicemails. Mary Kay Cabot, a frequent guest and the Browns beat reporter for cleveland.com, wrote an article. You can go and read it on cleveland.com. At the current time, the Browns do not plan to either void the trade or try to get any of the guaranteed money away from Deshaun Watson. In terms of the question, could the trade be voided? Brad, when you talk about that, that's a league. It would have to be arbitrated by the league. It wouldn't be, the NFL is its own entity, so you would be appealing to the league to void it. I don't know what you would do as far as first-round pick. You can't get the first-round pick back that you gave away this year. But it doesn't sound like the Browns are going down that road. But if you were going to, it would be based on something that you would appeal to the league to, not any judicial system.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, the Texans part in it, they may be in violation of the CBA, and that's something, like you said, that they would deal with the league. As far as the trade and the contract, if the Browns ever really wanted to go down that road, and I'll come back to that in a second, but I think they would have more of a case with Watson in the contract, right? This 24th case seemed like Rusty Harden didn't know about it, which I don't think is a giant leap to say that probably he didn't tell the Browns about it either. So if that's the case, my understanding is the way the contract was written up is that everything that Watson disclosed, he was good on, right? But if he kept anything secret and that came to light, that's maybe a violation of the contract. But let's be honest about the situation. And like you said, in reference to Mary Kay Cabot, I think we've come this far. The Browns still, despite being as bad as the last couple of weeks have been, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and the light at the end of the tunnel and big picture for the Browns is eventually we need this guy to win football games. So the only way is through, Dave, and I think that's the way that they're approaching this.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is I'm not so sure that Watson may have told him there are all these people that are lined up, because the NFL didn't come back and say, well, we're going to put you on the commissioner's exempt list while we figure this out. If this was completely had blindsided either the Browns or the NFL, I think Deshaun Watson would be on the commissioner's exempt list. They probably knew others were going. I think Harden didn't know the specifics of it, but he wanted to find out the specifics of it before he commented. He's commented and said it's false. I don't think any of this is a huge surprise, and I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent. I don't think this surprised either the NFL or the Browns, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think the additional accusers, I think, and there's probably more out there if you do the math, right? The 66 minus the 18 that support him, there's potentially others coming, right? I think they're aware of that. But it is going to hold up the NFL investigation because I don't think they can rule until everything comes out, right? I don't think that would be a very good look for them. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see on that end. But I do agree that I think they probably expected it to come out. This one, the fact that Rusty said he wasn't aware of the woman, I think the woman's name is the way I think he phrased it, or this case, the details of the case, and he wanted to look into it, as you said. I think that kind of threw some people for a loop, like, hey, this should have been disclosed, or if it wasn't, maybe that's a violation of the contract. But once again, kind of moot point here that the Browns are going through with Watson, and they're going to see this through to the end. And I don't think there's any way out or back. And I agree with Mark. Mark made a great point, man. We all want the distraction of the Browns back. We want to talk about football. We don't want to talk about this. He made a great point on the call there. I feel his pain. We don't want to be talking about this stuff, but it's just kind of the way it is right now.
Yep. Give us the old days of talking about the backup guards and who's going to make the roster and all that stuff. Can't wait for that. Brad Ward, as always, man. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Brad.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, Brad Ward, make sure you read him, brownswire.com. And he's also the host of the All Eyes on Cleveland podcast. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4. Have a great weekend, everyone.